What's your view of what's happening this week?
Oh, look, I think the main thing that we're seeing now is really the introduction of stage four starting to bite with regards to economic activity, and in particular, a couple of sectors like construction, retail sector, and also warehousing and transport and distribution. So I think that what we've now seen is with those restrictions being more bedded down, they took about a week to really sort of work their way through. People have now got a much better idea about how that's going to influence them over the coming month and a half.
You know, earlier on in the crisis, Brendan, we had a relatively high level of confidence that it would be a V-shaped recovery. Is that gone? Is it more likely to be a U or even a W now if we're talking letters?
Well, it's I sort of stopped talking letters a little while ago. Interestingly, I did our set of forecasts just over the weekend or at the end of last week and presented them to my colleagues at KPMG. And one of them responded by saying it looks like a bathtub. In effect, we see the downswing in the first part of this year and then it just staying flat for a couple of quarters and then starting to rise again.
Yeah.
So he referred to it as the bathtub shape recession that we've having as a consequence of this. But look, I think the main thing is what we've seen was the initial quite dramatic response to the shutdown, really to the supply side or elements of the supply side in the Australian economy. And while we started to see that recover, and it was a bit of a gentle recovery, this extension of stage four in Victoria, I think, has knocked the wind out of the sails a bit. And so that's going to really sort of flatline things for a little bit.
I wonder how quickly it'll bounce back when restrictions are eventually eased in Victoria.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good question, and it's pretty difficult to know, mainly because what we're not sure about is how people's behaviour is going to change as a consequence of this. Recognise that consumption represents, around about 60% of total economic activity, and one of the theories that's going around is that what we've had is this disruption to people's normal consumption patterns. And what that might do is just cause people to spend differently, spend less, save more, and maybe be a little bit less with regards to that conspicuous consumption.
We've got jobless figures coming out on Thursday, I believe. Brendan, what's your expectations there?
Oh, they're still going to continue to rise. We're anticipating, still double-digit effective unemployment continuing to rise through to the end of the year and then starting to recover thereafter. Albeit that recovery in the jobs market's going to be, in fact, slower than what we initially thought.
There's going to be more and more attention that's going to be placed on how things are going to look around Christmas time. The Prime Minister mentioned yesterday that restrictions are going to be in place. I'm not sure that really surprises anyone. How are things going to look this Christmas? And if we can stare into the crystal ball, Brendan, I'm not even sure whether planes are going to be running at full domestic capacity.
Look, I doubt very much they are. I mean, I think the whole thing hinges on what happens with the health side of this crisis that we're in. Depending on, whether a vaccine's found, whether we get to some level of significant suppression, I think that's going to completely drive what happens in the near future. One would hope that we're going to be able to see a significant reduction in new cases in coronavirus. You're already starting to see that in Victoria. And from my understanding of the comments that were made yesterday, the expectation is that that's predominantly because of, in fact, the stage 3 restrictions, and we're really yet to see the full impact of stage 4. Now, if we can get to some form of low level or significant virus control here, then you would expect us to be able to continue to slowly open the economy up. But in terms of how are people feeling, how people are being able to go and see friends and family, again, unless we have some form of, virtually, zero transmission, I think we will see a curtailment of what we would normally do.